Hi, this is Vaibhav Purandare here with my new video on the demolition of the temple of Mathura. In my previous video, I spoke about how the temple of Kashi was demolished on the express instructions of Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb in 1669, and how news of the destruction having been carried out successfully by Aurangzeb's officers reached the Mughal court on the 2nd of September 1669. Now Aurangzeb has begun this series of destructions of Hindu temples. The next that comes in after Kashi is going to be Mathura. With regard to Mathura, there is an interesting incident that's mentioned even before the Kashi temple is demolished. Aurangzeb was appalled to see that outside the temple of Mathura, which was considered the birthplace of Lord Krishna, his own brother Dara Shikoh had ordered the setting up of a railing for pilgrims. Now Dara Shikoh was Aurangzeb's brother, but he was a man of eclectic beliefs. He was a highly tolerant individual. He believed in the equality of all religions. He was a serious student of the Vedas and of the Upanishads. And that was yet another reason for Aurangzeb to really hate him passionately. Apart from the other reason that Aurangzeb wanted the crown for himself. So Aurangzeb imprisons his father Shah Jahan. Then he kills his brother Dara Shikoh and comes to the throne. And then he starts his fanatical acts of destroying various temples across the land. When he looks at the temple of Mathura and he sees the railing there put up on Dara Shikoh's orders, he's shocked and appalled. And he orders the railing to be removed immediately. The order for the removal of the railing issued by Aurangzeb is mentioned in the Akbarat. Now the Akbarat is a collection of reports sent to Aurangzeb's court by provincial governors or provincial officers. So the officer in Mathura, the Mughal officer who's stationed there, sends a report that Aurangzeb was upset that the railing was there, and on his orders the railing has been removed. The railing which was put up by his own brother Dara Shikoh. Subsequently, the temple of Kashi is demolished in the second half of 1669. And then Aurangzeb turns to Mathura, which is considered the birthplace of Lord Krishna. We saw how the destruction of the temple of Kashi is mentioned in Aurangzeb's official chronicle, the official chronicle of Aurangzeb's rule, written by Saki Mustad Khan. Now the same chronicle talks about the destruction of Mathura. In September it talks of the demolition of the Kashi temple, and just 3-4 months after that, the report for January, the report of the Mughal court for January 1670 talks about the demolition of the Mathura temple. And unlike the mention of the Kashi temple, which is very crisp and short and matter of fact, this is a little more detailed and it's written in florid language. So that report for January 1670 starts like that Aurangzeb is this great upholder of the Islamic faith and he is a destroyer of infidelity. And Aurangzeb ordered the destruction of the great center of infidelity in Mathura, the great temple of infidelity which is in Mathura. And on his orders, with considerable speed, in a very short time, the destruction of the temple was accomplished by his officers, by the utmost exertions of his officers. This is a specific line there. Now there is florid language that follows, that a great center of infidelity has been destroyed, and there is much praise for Aurangzeb that a seemingly wonderful and seemingly impossible task has been accomplished. A wonderful and seemingly impossible task has been accomplished by the demolition of this great temple of Mathura. Then there is another mention, that is that there were several idols in this temple. This is Aurangzeb's official chronicler talking about it. There were several idols in this temple. Some temples were big, some idols were big, some idols were small, and they had plenty of jewels on them, these idols. So those jewels were taken away by the officers of the Emperor Alamgir Aurangzeb, and the temple was destroyed, the mandir was destroyed, and a grand mosque has been built in place of that temple. Now, what happens to the idols? The jewelry has all been taken away by Aurangzeb's officers. Now, all these small and big idols that were there, the Mughal chronicler writes, Aurangzeb's official chronicler writes, the small and big idols were taken out of the temple. They were taken to Agra and they were buried under the steps of the mosque of the Begum Sahib. By the mosque of the Begum Sahib, they are obviously referring to the mosque dedicated to Mumtaz Mahal. So the idols were taken from there and buried under the steps of the grand mosque of the Begum Sahib, so that they could be continually trodden upon. These are the exact words. So that people can walk all over them, and even their remnants are destroyed, and Hinduism as a faith is insulted the way the so-called destroyer of infidelity, Aurangzeb, wants it to be insulted and hurt and destroyed. So these are the various details to be noted in the official chronicle. One is Aurangzeb's specific order that the great temple of infidelity in Mathura must be demolished. They call it the temple of infidelity because according to them, Hindus are infidels because they are not followers of the Islamic faith. And anyone who does not follow the Islamic faith, be it a Hindu, Buddhist or Christian, is an infidel or unbeliever according to Aurangzeb and his fanatical types. So one is the direct order of Aurangzeb to demolish the temple. Second is the actual act of demolition of the temple. The officials are saying that it was carried out very swiftly in a very short time by the great exertion of his officials. The jewelry was taken away, jewelry that was on all the various idols inside the great temple of Mathura. And then the idols themselves were taken away and placed under the steps of the mosque of the Begum Sahib in Agra. So this is a detailed explanation of what all happened, how quickly it happened, and apparently how wonderful the task was, and how this seemingly impossible task was achieved in very swift time. These are the details. So Aurangzeb's official account of his own rule talks about the destruction of the temple of Kashi as well as the destruction of Mathura, and about the destruction of the temple of Mathura in far greater detail than it talks about the destruction of the Kashi Mandir. After the destruction of the temple of Mathura, there is also mention of Aurangzeb's order to demolish temples in Rajasthan, and in similar fashion idols are taken away from those temples, and there is a specific mention about some of the temples that those idols were taken away and buried under the steps of the Jama Masjid. So these are all specific mentions in Aurangzeb's official accounts. So it's the Mughal accounts themselves and Aurangzeb's own accounts of his own rule that testify to the destruction of the temples of Kashi as well as Mathura. Thank you. This is Vaibhav Purandare signing off on this latest video. I hope you liked it, and if you have liked it, please do subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.